This is A Note to Future Me. This is Brett Johnson, your host and the owner of Circle270Media Podcast Consultants. Success stories are always fun to talk about. My client, Yavitch Palmer, attorneys at law, produces a weekly podcast called Lawyer Talk Off the Record. In September of 2021, Steve Palmer, the host, will be recording and publishing the podcast's 200th episode. Well, what keeps this podcast going? I can tell you it has seen its ups and downs since the first episode published in February of 2018. Some ups including moving the recording roundtable from Steve's office to opening the 511 studios in the lower level of his building in downtown Columbus, which now has expanded into video production and video streaming. If you get a chance, go to channel511.com and take a quick tour of the place. And there have been downs. COVID set back Steve's practice and caused a reduction in staff and attorneys who were co-hosts on the podcast. But through it all, the podcast has remained a staple for the law firm in its marketing and working opportunities. What did we learn during those 200 episodes? What are we continuing to do to keep the podcast fresh and keep listeners increasing? Here are 3 areas we never deviated from. Seek out stories that stand out and stack up. It's easy to take the same route as other attorneys and law firms in terms of marketing, but creating a podcast helps differentiate Yavitch Palmer from the competition. We continually find a creative approach to showcase thoughts from Steve and his attorney's guests on hot topics in the legal industry, and we don't shy away from trending pop culture stories that could tie back to the practice. The goal is to create content that builds a following. Number 2, we focus on relaxed table talk. We know what makes Lawyer Talk Off the Record one of the best law firm podcasts. We have niche topics that allow co-hosts and guest attorneys to take a different approach to a subject and share their perspective. One key is to ensure attorneys are relaxed and conversational so the discussion flows like table talk. That's why we record the podcast at a round table. We know more structured, scripted podcasts prevent listeners from relating to the hosts and guests. And we also keep an eye on defining success. Number 3, once we made the strategic decision to add podcasting to the law firm's marketing mix, we set defined goals. These include driving more website traffic, increasing the visibility of a certain practice area, and nurturing relationships with guests like potential clients and referral sources. A big part of gaining a degree of authority is positioning yourself as an expert on a topic while being completely honest about it. Because of the format of Lawyer Talk Off the Record, Steve Palmer, his law firm attorneys, and his guests know being a part of this podcast allows them to show off their knowledge in an informal, relatable setting, which makes an easy podcast to listen to, even with a round table full of lawyers. We also know we have a secret ingredient that no other law firm has for instant promotion and exposure. For over 10 years, Steve has guested during a weekly call-in slot on a local rock station in Columbus, Ohio. He answers listeners' questions steered by the morning show team, and each week he promotes the Lawyer Talk Off the Record podcast to thousands of listeners. If you're looking for more tailored help, then be sure to connect with our dedicated team of podcast professionals. We'll help your business, your law firm, whatever you're into, create a podcast from planning and launching to editing, presentation skills, promotion, and monetization. If you're interested in speaking with one of our professionals, we put together a questionnaire to quickly fill out. This will help us help you prior to our first information meeting, which you can schedule when you complete the questionnaire. The link is in the podcast show notes.